He ain't happy.
Don't do it.
He's furious even. I'm worried.
I might smack Christian. Who knows?
I might get Chris rocked in the face.
I'd never do that. I'd
never
do that.
Never? Because there have been some times where you looked at me kind of sideways.
Well, exactly. Yeah, sure. But I mean, you get past that, you know?
But PJ Zuko is big mad today. And it's one reason and one reason only. NFL overtime rules. PJ Zuko is furious about, I guess, not just the change, but the fact that the NFL is kind of half-stepping.
Yeah.
1 foot in, 1 foot back.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's very frustrating when leagues do that.
For those of you who haven't been on Twitter today or haven't been on the ESPN app or haven't been listening to ESPN radio, the NFL owners agreed that in the playoffs now, both teams will get a possession before the game turns into sudden death overtime. Now, like with many things on this here program, PJ Zuko and I disagree.
Hey,
and it's not a bad thing. Moose, what's going on? Moose checking in.
Good to
haven't
see
heard from Moose in a while.
Well, he's here today.
Moose is loose.
Enjoy it.
Moose checking in. As always, you can always catch up with us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Love it when you guys drop your comments, drop your questions. And the phone lines are always open, 912-342-7184. If you want to be involved with the show. Again, 912-342-7184. If you want to be involved with the show, talking NFL overtime rules today. Got some practice notes to get to from Georgia's spring practice. What's the quarterback situation looking like? What's that first team offensive line looking like? Some surprising names, some local names, getting some reps there with the first team. And then a really surprising local name on the roster at Georgia. So we'll dive into that coming up. But I wanted to start with the overtime rules because I know PJ is just furious. So right now the rules are going to be, if you get the ball first and you score a touchdown in the regular season, game over. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you get the ball first in the regular season, go down, kick a field goal, then the other team gets a possession, can kick a field goal or score a touchdown to walk it off. If they kick a field goal, then the game's just sudden death.
Yeah.
Right? Overtime in the playoffs now, regardless of what happens on that first drive, the other team is then going to get a possession as well. And then if they score more points than you on that possession, like you kick the field goal, they score a touchdown, or you score a touchdown, they score a touchdown, and they go for 2, it's over. If both teams score the same amount of points of those possessions, then it becomes sudden death. It's better than what it was.
Right.
Just because you don't want a coin flip determining a game. Here's where my thought has always been, because I'm not a fan. I know this is going to make some people mad. I am not a fan of college football's overtime. Because I feel like football, I've said this before, and this is the best way I've ever heard it described, is football is a game of hostile real estate acquisition, right? Where you are physically bludgeoning somebody for 5-10 yards in front of you.
Yeah.
And you got 4 chances to get those 10 yards, right? If you then don't get those 10 yards, but you have guaranteed points on the board, that kind of defeats, to me, the spirit of football. To me, field position matters. Your kicking game matters. That doesn't just mean with field goals. That's kickoff unit, coverage, punts, all of that, right? So it kind of defeats the purpose of a vast majority of the game. It almost becomes a different sport when you just put it on the 25 and say go.
Right.
So I've never been a huge fan of that. What I do like is what I think the NFL is trying to get to, or was originally. I think all you should do is if the game ends and it hits triple zeros and it's tied, continue the game. Right? Like, think about what they do in soccer. And I know eventually they get to penalty kicks, but in soccer, when you hit 90 minutes and it's tied, you just add some more time on the clock and keep going. Nobody changes possession, nothing like that. You put the ball in the middle, kick it, boom, we're back at it.
Yeah.
And football, I think, honest to God, overtime should be just keep going. Put a set amount. If it's 5 minutes, okay, we're sending the game 5 minutes. If it's still tied, cool, 5 more minutes.
Do you think at that point, whoever has the ball at the end of the fourth quarter, in that sense, should they? Now we're like theory crafting, and I don't know, but do they keep the ball wherever they're at the end of that quarter, or does it reset? Someone kicks to another Like it's the start of a new half.
I think maybe you could do like a new half. I think that'd be fine.
Gotcha.
And so it's like, if you have the ball last and you got the ball first to start the game, then you're going to get the ball. So it kind of changes the strategy, right? Like you don't inherently have to rush to go score. You can, knowing that if you score, the game's over.
Right.
Right. But I think you kind of do it like halves.
Yeah.
I think that's what they do in basketball, right? So it's like if you're doing a quarter system, if you got the ball to start the fourth quarter, the team that, or do they do
they do a tip off?
Do they do a
again,
tip off again? Yeah.
That's kind of the That's
but
the
possession, like in
to
soccer
that,
and basketball, doesn't matter nearly as much as a possession in football.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think you kick off just like it's another half, and like I said, just 5 minutes, make it a 5-minute quarter.
Yeah. I don't inherently disagree with that when it comes to college football. I've
the
always,
NFL.
like, yeah, I've always like, to me specifically with college football, I have two sides, and one side of me is the fan and just loves the excitement, and that side of me loves college football overtime, how it was a few years ago. Now I think that the 2-point conversion stuff's absolutely ridiculous. But the excitement part of me loves, just like the excitement part of me loves penalty kicks, loves starting on the 25. But I've never disagreed. The other side of me has never disagreed with you in the sense of that's not football at its purest form.
And Lord knows college football has gone even farther away from
exactly.
football with whatever the hell this 2-point conversion thing is. Like Penn State, Illinois was a crime against God.
It was in every way. And to me, like the fact that we saw that, and then even I'll say it, like I know it was a classic type of game and a rivalry game, how important it was, all that. But like even Auburn, Alabama, it was a shame that that's how it ended. Like it was a dang shame that that's how that game ended, coming down a 2-point conversion.
But so like think about
embarrassing.
So think about like what I'm saying though, where it changes the. I'm trying to think of the right word. It changes the scope of the game. It changes like the truth, I guess, of football, which is Auburn was just absolutely wrecking Alabama up front.
Yeah.
During that game, and then Zacoby McClain was having the game of his life playing DB for Auburn and just shutting down who he needed to shut down. Who is it? Jameson Williams got ejected in that game.
Yeah.
And so he just had to lock down John Mechie, and all of a sudden Alabama's offense couldn't do anything against Auburn because Auburn was dominating up front and Alabama couldn't get anything going. You put Bryce Young at the 25.
Yeah.
Or you put Bryce Young at the 3.
Well, that's the thing.
And you just say, go. There's not a lot of teams in the country that can stop John Mechie one-on-one. For 3 yards.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, for 3 yards. If you get 3 yards on me and you're on your 30, that's just good defense.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you get
that's
3
a good open field tackle.
If you get 3 yards on me and you're 3 yards away, that's the game. And it just completely changed the spirit, I guess is what I was trying to say, of the game. It's not the same to me. So NFL overtime rules. So improvement.
Well, yeah. And getting back to, I know we love, as you can see, and as you know, we love college football. So like we
but I would
about that.
I would prefer to have the rules that the NFL has in college football.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm with you. I wouldn't disagree with that. A part of me, well, this is the thing, right? A part of the fan in me would die a little bit because we're changed some of what I think is excitement, but we've already changed that. Like it's already gone.
Yeah.
So
like maybe
let's change it to something
like
good.
At like soccer, right? So maybe after a set amount of time, then you go to that. When it's just like it's guaranteed they're not going to score, then you go to that. Fine. Because in soccer, the thought process behind going to penalty kicks is they just played 90 minutes. We're going to have them play 30 more minutes.
Yeah.
So you've played 2 hours of just 15-yard sprints for 2 hours.
True.
Everybody is exhausted. And there's nothing productive happening.
Yeah. It's still 1-1.
Like the only way somebody's going to score is when the other team just all falls down with cramps or passes out from exhaustion. And then somebody just kind of like limply hits the ball into the goal.
Exactly.
Right.
Then we're all going to feel cheated anyway.
Right.
So like,
that's why you go to penalty kicks. If I think in college football, if you brought what the NFL is doing, and then after that, 15 minutes after that extra period, then you go to that, fine. But like, can you imagine, again, go back to the Iron Bowl. Can you imagine Alabama goes down the field, ties the game up like they did? It was Bryce Young's Heisman moment. And then we got a whole nother quarter of football.
Yeah. It'd be incredible.
We had a whole nother quarter. We're kicking this thing off.
It'd be incredible. Yeah. It'd be fantastic. And even like I would feel so much better about that Penn State Illinois game, and I think the world would too, if that's how that went too, and we didn't have to suffer.
I don't know.
through
Those teams might have just gotten stuck
9
between the
overtimes.
40s and never gone anywhere.
It's true. That's pretty much what happened throughout the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least you're true to the game. But no, so yeah, when it comes to the NFL, I do think it's an improvement. I agree there. I just hate these lukewarm, since I can't call it something else on the radio, these like lukewarm type of changes that I feel like eventually is going to change into something more, further down the road. Like for instance, I was the same way when they started these changes and they said, you know what? We won't have it be sudden death completely. If you kick a field goal, the other team's going to get a chance. And I was like, why don't we just make it both teams get a chance now? Because it's that a field goal still isn't good enough. Like this change still isn't good enough. I know what you're trying to imply and what you're starting. A few years down the road, we're probably going to get it changed. And lo and behold, we have.
Yeah.
But now it's just for the postseason. And I understand the argument against it, right? Like this is all about preserving the players' bodies and not having them in harm's way for longer than they have to be, and bodies breaking down and being more tired as the game goes on. I get it, but it's another possession, and it's throughout the season. Make this change throughout the whole season so we don't have all these bylaws that are just like, yeah, we have this and we change this for this small period of time, but not the rest.
Well, so
of it.
here's what kills me is all of the weird rules regarding football overtime come from the fact that they say, quote unquote, we want to save the players. Like we want to save their bodies. It's dangerous. It's just adding hit after hit to an already long season. But then college football expands the playoffs, doesn't take away a regular season game. And so now you're playing 15 games of college football if you make it to the national championship. The NFL, we care about their bodies. We want to get them off the field as soon as possible. We're also going to add an extra regular season game, and there's a potential we add more playoff teams.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you really care about their bodies, or do you have to get to the 4:30 window?
Right. Precisely.
Like, do you really care about the sanctity of the game and trying to make things fair, or do you care about getting it all in within a 4-hour block?
Right. Yeah. No, that's very.
Do you don't want people missing the start of Cowboys Giants because the Falcons and the Panthers are playing another quarter of football?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, just say what it is.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Or like Kevin said, we go back to what Georgia high school football used to be, which was penetration. Both teams got the ball. No. Whoever drove further into the other team's territory won, baby.
Right. It's like, I feel like this is very similar to like my thoughts on the college football playoff. Like, hey, we're expanding the college football playoff to 4 teams. Or we're starting the college football playoff. It's going to be 4 teams. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good. It's better, but it's not the best. And I don't know. I just, like you said, and at least if you're going to give me something, be honest with me and don't try and get one by me. Like,
you're dumb. You don't get it. You don't know what we're doing. You don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a very good point about the time window. I did see someone bring up an argument. Just it's dangerous when you start scrolling through Twitter and looking at comments and stuff. But someone said, well, I guarantee you, if the NFL tried to make this a change throughout the whole season, the NFLPA would come back and want more money for their players since they're having to play extra snaps. And I mean, I don't know. Part of me read that and thought the same thing you did. Is like, well, they're playing more games. They're wanting to add more teams to the
snaps
playoff.
Thing confuses me because, like, okay, if that's the case, then the hurry up offense shouldn't be allowed,
right?
Or no huddle.
Yeah.
Like if you're worried about how many plays somebody's playing, okay, there should be not only a play clock but also a minimum play clock where you have to spend a minimum amount of time or a maximum amount of time, one or the other, right?
Yeah.
You can't just get up to the line and you'll be, whoa. We don't want too many plays.
Right.
Chip Kelly, calm down.
And that's the thing. That's why I say, like, I know I might say it lightly, and if you're a football player that's been injured in the past, like, you might be mad at me about, I don't know, but it's like, it's one possession. But like, if another team scores during the regular season, All I'm asking
Yeah.
for is you add on one possession, just
But
like you would in the
I think it's kinda
postseason.
like a fulcrum, right, where it's like the injury chances go up,
The
right?
longer you get
The
into a game,
Yeah, the
yeah,
longer and, like, the more tired you are, like, the chances of injury go up from there, but, again, I don't think 1 extra possession. Now, college football where you have LSU and Texas A&M going to, like, 9 overtimes or whatever, alright, maybe. Like,
yeah,
that's a little weird, but again, that's because 'cause you're putting the ball in 25 and you had 2 great quarterbacks going back and forth in that game, so I don't
right.
know. It is what it is, like, we're not obviously gonna change it, but in my opinion, I think the best one now in football is the NFL's playoffs overtime rule.
Yeah, I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing too. Is I think my what I'm saying about the regular season is maybe
Yeah.
shadowing my happiness with this change. I do think it's incredible. I can't wait for postseason, playoffs and play and whatnot. And if they get in overtime, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be great. I think that even the stat over the past 10 years, teams that win the coin toss are 10-2.
Yep.
That's wild stat, but that's exactly why the change should be made. At the same time, I just I get frustrated when
Hey, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you're Matt Hasselbeck. You're like, "We're gonna win this coin toss, and we're gonna go win the game."
yeah,
Then you win the coin toss, you throw a pick six. So,
right.
hey, sometimes it works the other way. We gotta take a quick break. We're gonna come back, gonna dive into Georgia's spring practice. What are the storylines? Who are some players who have stepped up? And kinda we're gonna try to go through and like right now, if Georgia had to play Oregon, what are those first 2 teams looking like? We're gonna dive into that when we come back next. This is Second Down on ESPN Radio. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko. Diving into some Georgia spring practice here. But first, PJ, I have to make a declaration. I have officially kicked my Wordle habit.
Is it something you have to kick though?
It had become part of my day. I would either at midnight, if I was still up, I would just go ahead and hit that day's Wordle. If I had a couple seconds at lunch and I hadn't done it, I'd knock it out, or before bed. You just knock out that day's Wordle. But I am furious because I have never missed a Wordle.
Yeah.
Never.
Okay.
Perfect. And it still shows 100%. But for whatever reason,
okay,
Wordle kept resetting my win streak.
So, all right. Okay. Yeah. For a second there, I thought you were just like, you were going on about why you were quitting it. You were like, it was part of my day. I did it.
I love it.
It was that's
challenging. It
so
got my heart rate up a couple times when it had words that ended in with 4 letters that could be about 7 different things.
Oh yeah.
Like
RASH.
RASH. You're like, okay, that could be crash. That could be brash. There could be so many different things, right? Trash. It could be anything. And so it's horrifying. And then when you get it, just the exhilaration, or when you get on the second try, because I'm never getting on the first try because I was a cheater and I used the anchor word.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I had to quit. I was like, listen, if you guys aren't going to keep track of my record, there's no reason for me to do this. So I felt like, I'm going to say it, I felt like I was the best Wordle player on the planet.
I've met a few people like that.
But there's no debating it. I hadn't missed.
Yeah. But no, he has missed. I haven't either, but here's my thing is I do Wordle. This might send you off. I do Wordle on 7 different computers. So I never have a quote unquote win streak, but I've also never missed a word.
Yeah.
So on each one of those separate computers, I have a win streak and I have 100%, but
why do you have 7 computers?
I don't have 7. That's an exaggeration. But I've done it on my phone before. I've done it on the work computer. Sorry, Kevin. I've done it on my home computer, of course.
Done on your Xbox, logged on to Internet Explorer on your Xbox and did it there.
Did you get it? When did you quit?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, dang. Okay. Not yesterday. The day before yesterday's, and I like that it's the day before yesterday that I know confidently that I can talk about it without spoiling anything for everybody. Dude, the first 2 words, I got no letters right. And both of those words had every vowel in it. Interesting. So then you get down 4 more tries, and I'm like, it's a word with a Y in it. It has to be. I was beside myself for the longest time. You reference those exhilarating guesses, and that's kind of what got me on this. Nymph was the word. Nymph. And thank goodness I guessed glyph, because then I got the ending. But man, that one was wild.
PJ Zuko, just crazy, wild, exhilarating, heart pumping.
It was fun, man. I stood up when I got it. I stood up.
Yeah, when they sold it to the New York Times, it reset my streak. I was at 38 days, reset my streak, and it's just I was like, okay, fine. And then it did it again. I was like, nope, never again. So
okay,
that's where I'm at. But let's talk about where Georgia's at. They're in the middle of spring practice. April 16th is the spring game for Georgia, and I want to go position group by position group here, but we're going to do quarterbacks last. And it's not because I'm I want everybody hanging out because I have some sort of breaking quarterback news, and I want everybody sticking around to the end of the segment. No, it's just I know we can get mired in the Stetson Bennett muck, and I'm not saying Stetson Bennett is muck. I'm saying our conversations around him can turn into that, and it just becomes about, oh, it's only because he's 5'11". It's let's wait, and we can do that at the end and see how much time we have to roll around in that. So let's start with the running backs. Per a lot of reports, Kenny McIntosh, who's going to be a senior this year, has kind of taken over as the one back, right? He's going to be the first guy you see out there. And I think he's kind of the best do-it-all back that Georgia had last year, where if you need somebody to run between the tackles, if you need somebody to stay on the field and then catch some passes, stay inside and run block, go outside and run routes, he could do it all. James Cook was phenomenal on some of those counter plays. He was amazing at catching the football and amazing at going outside. And then Zamir White, awesome between the tackles, struggled at times catching the football, right? I think if you said best overall, I think Kenny McIntosh has a chance to be that guy. And so he's been taking the reps with the ones, but 1B, because Georgia's always going to rotate at least 3-4 deep. Kendall Milton is apparently back and healthy. And really the best we've seen of him was 2 years ago in Tuscaloosa, where he was a true freshman and they were just handing him the ball at the middle between the tackles, and Alabama had nothing for him.
Yeah.
Apparently the dude is even bigger than before.
Goodness.
Yeah, so it's taken this offseason, lost some of that baby fat, put on some more muscle, and so now you're gonna have your kind of standard back and Kenny McIntosh, and then maybe I don't want to say Derrick Henry, but maybe kind of like your Bo Scarborough back
Yeah.
and
Monster.
Kendall Milton, which I think could be really exciting. After them though, because you're gonna need that third back. They just got the kid out of Mississippi, Branson Robinson, is a freshman, and he'll probably see some carries. But Dacian Edwards, who's kind of been the Brendan Douglas, if Georgia fans remember him from about 8-9 years back, number 22, played with Todd Gurley. Dacian Edwards kind of been him, where he was the cigar back, is kind of what you call it, where it's you're up 20, up 30, and then you put that back in, and he can just pick you up chunks and just run the clock out.
Yeah.
Kind of stick the old cigar in your mouth, right? Dacian Edwards has played that role the last couple years, but apparently he's earning some reps with the ones as well out of Colquitt County there. So I think with those three, you're looking good, and then you have Robinson there as well. Moving over to wide receivers, Brian Mcclendon, former UGA running back, a guy who has a ton of experience in and around the SEC. Most recently, he was at Oregon before going to Miami, and then Georgia hired him away from Miami to come over, take their wide receiver coaching position. And working with Todd Monken, they're saying the first thing he did was walk into the recruiting room and erase it and put his guys up there that he wants to go after. So apparently Brian Mcclendon has a certain type of wide receivers that he's going to want to go after, and it's more of the physical freaks and the guys that I don't want to say we have seen, because you've had a George Pickens, but he wants Georgia's wide receiver room to more consistently resemble what Alabama and Clemson's and those schools do, where they go out there and they get the top receivers instead of letting Alabama and Clemson go get the top receivers, and then you get the guys after.
Trying to fill in the blanks.
Right. But surprising absolutely no one, A.D. Mitchell has been the guy, has the biggest catch in the history of Georgia football, I'd say, outside of Lindsey Scott. And I would hear arguments that in a national championship game, catching that bomb from Stetson Bennett might be even bigger. But he's become the number one guy in that room. We heard a bunch of guys talking about him after the season saying, like, no, y'all got to watch out for this kid, because if he gets like a full offseason to work as the number one X, he's going to be playing where George Pickens played, then he's going to be special. After him, some of the names are surprising that I figured there'd be a couple other guys like Kyrus Jackson, who's back up there, or Dominic Blaylock, but Ladd McConkey is the one who has really kind of taken over that slot receiver position.
Okay.
And so it could be a pretty consistent rotation with him and Kyrus Jackson there. Kyrus Jackson, the leader, the vet, but Ladd McConkey, who has showed explosion that last year, he's been repping a lot. And then a guy who Georgia fans will remember, maybe for not the best reason, but he was having a good game before that. Marcus Rosemy Jack Saint, who a couple years ago in Jacksonville broke his leg after catching caught the touchdown and broke his leg on the same play.
Yeah.
He's back and he's showing out. So right now it's looking like if Georgia rolled out there, what we would see is A.D. Mitchell, Marcus Rosemy Jack Saint on the other side, and then a rotation between Ladd McConkey and Kyrus Jackson at that slot position. A couple other guys to watch out for: Arian Smith, who Georgia fans know, crazy fast.
Yeah.
Right? Like world-class Olympic speed fast. Apparently he's been making some highlight catches and just more so than highlight catches. Like they're taking a snap and all of a sudden somebody's 7 yards behind the defense.
Yeah.
That's been Arian Smith in spring practice. Dominic Blaylock as well, another guy that's been dealing with a lot of injuries, is looking like he's going to be good to go for the season and working in and going to have a lot of significant snaps. So those are your wide receivers. Tight end's a weird group to talk about because it's so injured. Brock Bowers having postseason surgery. Darnell Washington is out with a lower leg injury for the spring. So really Eric Gilbert and Brett Seither are the only like returning quote unquote tight ends that have been repping. And then Oscar Delp, the true freshman 4-star coming in, has been repping as well. But everybody knows what they got in Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
You know what you have in Darnell Washington. But as I said earlier, there's a local guy that we need to talk about, And this news kind of broke yesterday really quietly.
Mm.
And I was informed of it by somebody sending me a text and saying, "Hey, you see who's on Georgia's football roster?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No." They said, "Brandon Jernigan is on Georgia's football roster."
Yeah.
So I went to GeorgiaDogs.com, looked at the 2022 football roster for spring practice, scrolled down to the guys who have no numbers, and sure enough, former Glenn Academy quarterback, wide receiver, baseball player Brandon Jernigan is working with the Georgia football team. He's a member of the baseball team and has made some like Sports Center top 10 center field grabs for Georgia. But from a football sense, the last time we saw Brandon Jernigan, he was leading Glenn Academy in 2017 to a semifinals appearance as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And he is working out at wide receiver for Georgia right now. And so his freshman year, he was at Brunswick. Then
Right.
sophomore
Yeah.
and junior year, he kind of played running back, wide receiver because Glenn Academy had a dude named DJ Dallas
Yeah.
slinging the rock around for him.
Pretty
So,
solid. Yeah.
so he has experience playing wide receiver and crazy fast.
Yeah.
I don't want
Insanely.
to like overstate it, but I'm relatively sure he had the fastest home to first base time. That's one of the measurements in baseball in the state of Georgia his senior year.
Yeah.
Like legit clocked laser 4.4 speed.
No, that makes sense.
And so he's been at Georgia getting bigger and stronger. And now with a lot of these injuries and with, I don't want to say he's doing it because of a lack of bodies, but he's getting an opportunity to go out there and play.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty exciting. So
For sure.
and for like somebody who needs like a reference for how fast dude is, his senior year, I was in the stadium when he did it. They were playing Valdosta. And Valdosta has some guys who are still playing college football, a couple guys who I think are in the NFL that were on that team, right? He took just kind of like a triple option, read the running back, kept it, and then hit right off of the left tackle and split Valdosta's defense right down the middle to the point where Valdosta DBs and linebackers had angles on him and just right down the middle outran all of their angles. It was so like stunning how fast he was
Yeah.
that it was on like the overtime as their like top play. It was on the max preps as their top play. It was just dude is fast. So I think it's pretty cool. So Glenn Academy's Brandon Jernigan working out with the football team. Let's hit the offensive line real quick because there's a couple other local guys that I want to talk about. This is from Graham Coffey, who's going to join us coming up at 3:20. He said the first team right now has been Broderick Jones at left tackle, which we saw him play there a lot in the SEC championship semifinals and national championship when they'd kick Jamari Sawyer inside. Broderick Jones, Xavier Truss at left guard, Cedric Van Pran at center, Devin Willock, at right guard, and then Warren Mcclendon locked down that right tackle position. Second team, and you got to watch out for a couple of these names here. Ernest Green, left tackle, Micah Morris from Camden County, rocking with guards with the second team, Warren Erickson, the center, Austin Blasky from South Effingham, right guard on that second team, and then Chad Lindbergh, another big-time recruit up there as well. Tate Ratledge, who got hurt in the Clemson game, is still working his way back. But the news with Micah Morris is Micah Morris has been repping with the ones as well. So there's a distinct chance you see three local guys taking snaps for Georgia's first team offensive line there. And I think a really solid offensive line under new coach there, Stacy Searles. Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back. We'll dive into the defense because even more so than the offense, just replacing a ton of people. But I think going to surprise you some of the talent that's going to be there. It shouldn't surprise you with the recruiting classes, but I think when a lot of Georgia fans think, God, the defense is going to be tough next year. It's like, no. It's going to be nasty again.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take a look at that when we come back. Again, this is Second Down on ESPN Radio. If you miss any portion of our show, you can check us out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, ESPNCoastal.com. Anywhere you get your podcast, you can listen to the show. We'll come back, take a look at what Georgia's defense has been doing in spring practice next, right here on ESPN Radio. All right, I have to step up here in my producer role because we can't come back talking about Georgia's defense. I love Jason Isbell, but we can't come back listening to Jason Isbell on this, can we?
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe there.
Sure.
Well, there we go.
Go ahead and yeah.
A little Pearl Jam going.
Nothing wrong with Pearl Jam. Yeah, solid. I've never
Nothing
really,
wrong with Pearl Jam?
well, no. All right.
I will fight you.
I'll say this. I like Pearl Jam more than I like Jason Isbell.
Whoa! Yo, you say you like them both.
Is that dangerous?
You say you like them both.
Is that a problem?
All right. We're about to have a problem, but first we're going to talk about Georgia's defense. So you're coming off maybe the best season by a Georgia defense ever. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
Like, can you remember one that was more talked about?
No, not
like I'll always
necessarily.
have I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for those like early 2000s Georgia defenses with the Odell Thurmans and David Pollocks and the Baileys on those, right? Like those are some great. Richard Seymour,
There you go.
Charles Grant, Marcus Stroud, Charles Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just dude after dude after dude after dude. But this defense, that's how they're going to be talking about it for a long, long time.
I mean, like, compare that, right? Like, you're comparing it to other Georgia defenses. People throughout the season and even after the season, we're comparing this defense to other defenses in college football. Like, great defenses in all of college football. So when you say that and you put it that way, I feel like most likely the best.
Yeah, and
the
so
best, Georgia defense of all time.
So realistically, if we're talking about guys who were taking snaps with this defense as starters, right? You have about 5-6 guys coming back who were significant starters. You have a bunch of guys who had playing time last year, the guys who started games. You have about 5 to 6 guys coming back, and I say 5 to 6 because if you want to consider Dan Jackson a starter, I'll buy that because he played a lot of snaps, especially against some of the passing teams you were playing. Like he played a lot of snaps against Clemson, right? He got toasted by Jameson Williams, but Lord knows he played in that SEC championship game. So Dan Jackson's back, but there's some guys that I want to start with here in the secondary. And I think the biggest one is Christopher Smith. And dude, from what we heard, is just doesn't come out. He is like the one stalwart there in the secondary who's not moving. He's going to be your free safety. Now, who steps up and plays strong safety is the next question. And it's going to be, it looks like, between the aforementioned Dan Jackson, who had some good plays last year, really good open field tackler. Just don't know that he's going to be the same kind of guy who can run the box like a Lewis Seen, right? Like you can just run down an alley and absolutely light you up. Another guy, though, who is just out of this world talent-wise, we just haven't seen a lot of them, is Kamari Lassiter. And so it's Dan Jackson and Kamari Lassiter working out of that strong safety position. William Poole, who stepped up there kind of towards the SEC championship into the semifinals, into the national championship. He's kind of taken over that star position. Haven't heard a whole lot about Tyke Smith. He's still dealing with coming back from that knee injury, but former All-American, could be a big part of the defense as well. And then on the other side, looking at this cornerback spot, Keely Ringo has taken over. And we played some audio last week of Kirby Smart talking about Keely Ringo and saying he's about as talented as they come. His hope is to be a top 10 pick. And now he just has to not let being basically having a picture player, right? Where it's just people are always going to remember Keely Ringo jumping up and picking off that pass in the national championship. You still have stuff to do. He still has work to do, and a whole nother season at least coming up in front of him. But he's locked down one side. Nyland Green right now has taken a lot of the first team reps on the other side of Keely Ringo. So that's just a quick look at your secondary. Some other guys who you're going to be very familiar with in the front seven. There's 3 guys pretty much that have locked up their position, and is really because of seniority and talent. Jalen Carter, who we all know is just maybe out of Devonta White and Jordan Davis, the most talented. And it seems crazy to say based off of Jordan Carter or Jordan Davis's combined Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. That's a horrifying mutant.
Saying that back to back is rough.
But no, like Jordan Davis's combine was insane. Jalen Carter might be more talented. And so he's coming back, taking over that
Crazy.
Jordan Davis spot. The other two guys, though, are going to be on the outside, Nolan Smith and Robert Beale. Two guys who have played a lot of football for Georgia. Nolan Smith's been there for a while. Robert Beale, I'm pretty sure I'd have to check. I think he's a 6-year senior coming back and playing, just using that extra COVID year. So they're
Wow.
going to be your
Yeah.
outside linebacker guys. There's some freshmen behind them that are going to be really good, but they're going to kind of rotate in and out. Chaz Chambliss, who we saw get ejected in the Michigan game for a clean hit, he's been working at that outside linebacker spot a lot. He's a good run stopper, but he's an electric pass rusher. So watch out for Chaz Chambliss, and then MJ Sherman as well, getting some looks. Now the question becomes on the line, who are some of the guys that step up? I say Warren Brinson, someone to watch, a local guy out of Savannah, went down to IMG Academy and has been up at Georgia for a while now. Super talented, just kind of waiting for it to turn on there a little bit. And then Zion Logue as well has been really good there in the middle as well. So if you're looking for the guys who are going to be replacing a Devontae Wyatt, right? Zion Logue and Warren Brinson, I'd watch out for them, as well as Bear Alexander, who everyone seems to love. Just haven't seen a lot of him because he's been dealing with some surgery. Inside linebacker here, quickly, because I know it's just a lot. We're trying to get a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
Jamon Dumas Johnson is really kind of taking over the inside linebacker spot there for Nakobe Dean. Shoot, I shouldn't say Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean, Channing Tindall, and Quay Walker.
Yeah.
Like, you lost a ton of talent in there, but he's taking over. Rion Davis, who's got probably the best name. Let's talk the two nicknames. Even if they're not great, they have maybe the best nicknames for inside linebackers. Jamon Dumas Johnson, they call him Pop at practice. And then Rion, his quote unquote nickname, middle name, whatever you want to call it, Trouble.
Okay.
So you got Pop and Trouble.
Pop in trouble.
Playing inside linebacker there
Yeah.
for you at Georgia. Tresman Marshall also rotating in there. So it's just 5-star after 5-star after 5-star after 5-star rotating in. It's just names we don't know. But I mean, going through this, looking at some of the notes, and again, this is spring practice, so a lot of guys, a lot of this is going to switch in and out. We don't have a ton of info on the freshmen that are there right now because they're just kind of getting looks right now and just kind of trying to learn the playbook, honestly. And there have been some guys who are going to play this year who are true freshmen, but I go through that, and then you have Ryan McGee saying, Georgia might be double-digit winners, but there's not a chance in hell they're beating Alabama. I look at that roster, and I think it gets a full season under it. That could be dangerous.
Yeah. Extremely. I wouldn't be throwing things around, and I like Ryan McGee quite a bit, but I wouldn't be throwing things around like that quite quickly. I don't think. I've been saying it a lot. I don't think this Georgia team is just a one and done type of football team. Kirby Smart has built it to be able to last.
Yeah.
So, and I think you're going to see that with different guys stepping up, different units stepping up next year. But I think they're going to step all the same and be right there in competition. I don't think it's going to be something that you can just lift up your nose at and say they're done for.
Is the defense going to be like as silly as it was this past year, where it's like becoming like a running joke every week, like how dominant they're going to be, like what they did against Vanderbilt or what they did against Florida? Probably not, but it's still going to be one of the top 3 defenses in the country.
Yep.
And then offensively, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to say the offense is going to be better,
Agreed.
regardless of whoever's sitting back there throwing the football. See, this is why I didn't want to talk about quarterbacks, because we talked about everybody else, and now we have no time to talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If we had talked about quarterbacks, we wouldn't have been able to get to anything else. But it's been a fun spring. Still got a lot more to go with the spring game coming up on April 16th. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back, wrap up second down, get you ready for 3 and out next. PJ.
What's going on?
PJ.
Oh yeah.
You see who's on the prowl?
Oh,
You see
man.
who's on the prowl?
Could it be anybody else?
You see who's on the prowl?
I think I might know.
One Eldrick Tiger Woods
Hey,
took a little private plane down to Augusta National. Play a little practice round, see how he's feeling.
testing things out.
We could probably see him at Augusta coming up here in about a month. Bob
Maybe.
Herrig from Sports Illustrated going to join us to discuss that coming up here in about 30 minutes, as well as Graham Coffey here at 3:20, talk Georgia spring practice. All that coming up next right here on ESPN Radio.